Lassiter Factor.
What's up, all my movie-loving maniacs? This is your boy Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor, and welcome back to my Fantastic Four deep dive leading up to Fantastic Four First Steps, which comes out on July 25th. And I've already started with the Fantastic Four movie from the 90s that was never released, as well as the documentary to go with it. And today I'm going to talk about Fantastic Four from 2005 that was directed by Tim Story. But I'm not going to do the usual review. Today, I'm going to do another top 5 for something related to this movie like I did with Jaws just last week. And today, I'm going to be calling it the top 5 good things about this movie because, let's face it, and I'm going to be completely honest, this is by no means highly regarded within superhero cinema, and I'm not here to try to convince you of that. But it is a very nostalgic movie for me. I remember when I went to go see this movie in the theaters and I loved it. But then as I gotten older and I've come to realize that people really didn't fuck with this movie all that much, as well as its sequel, which I think is a better movie, but more on that on another day. As far as my history with Fantastic Four lore, because I did say that I was going to address my history with the Fantastic Four in the last video I did, which was the 90s one, so here we go. But overall, I'm not too deep in Fantastic Four comics, but I've loved the concept of the Fantastic Four, in which they are the first superhero family within Marvel, and they have their own distinctive powers pertaining to their personalities and character. Matter of fact, I remember when that first movie came out, they were selling some comic books, in which one right here, which is kind of the animated comic book. I don't know how I worded that, but basically I remember I got this from the school book fair back in the day before the movie came out, and I started rereading just right now because, hey, what can I say? I'm in Fantastic Four fever right now, and I even went to Books A Million over the weekend, and they started selling these little legacy comics or whatever, but basically one of them was Fantastic Four. The other one I picked up was Black Panther, but hey, what can I say? Right now, I'm in Fantastic Four mood right now. I also remember playing the Fantastic Four video game on the Xbox back in the day. You know how they used to make tie-in video games for movies. And I remember when I bought the game from Best Buy back in the day, they gave me this soundtrack sampler CD that came with the video game, and it has like this song called Clobbering Time by Jurassic 5, and they have the Fantastic Four theme on it. And while I'm on the subject, I ain't gonna lie, John Ottman's main titles theme for this movie, it is Chef's Kiss. I like this. After I rewatched the movie last week, I could not stop listening to this. This song is severely underrated, I should say. But like I said, this is by no means a good movie, and I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. But what I am going to do is give you top 5 redeemable things about Fantastic Four 2005. Number 1, the cast. And I'm starting out with this for a very obvious reason that I'll get into in a little bit. For what it's worth, I do think the cast works, but mainly one half and then the other half is just But particularly Chris Evans, years before he was cast as Captain America, Steve Rogers. I think he is the best version of the Human Torch that we've seen in cinema, and that is even more evident as he reprised the character in Deadpool and Wolverine last year. And then Michael Chiklis, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he plays Ben Grimm, aka The Thing. And I know the practicality of his character is hit or miss with anybody, but I kind of think it does work. It just makes it look more believable, and I do think that Michael Chiklis does encompass Ben Grimm. Chris Evans and him, they both embrace their character traits, because Johnny Storm, he's the hothead, and Ben Grimm, he's basically the rock of the group, and he is the heavy. He is the heart and soul of the group. And he has the most tragic backstory of all of them, in which, he used to be the ladies' man, he used to be handsome, and now he's just turned into this monstrosity, and then he gets dumped by his fiance, which is downright heartbreaking in itself. Now, the other half of the group, Ion Gruffafud, please forgive me if I mispronounce his name, but basically he plays Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, and I'd say he's the best Reed Richards, but only by default. And the same goes with Jessica Alba as Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. And, oh Lord, look, I'm not here to. I love me some Jessica Alba, and I'm not here to brag on her. Hey, she did the best with what she was given. But it is definitely clear they try to sexualize the fuck out of her any chance they got. Right down to the scene where she tries to go invisible to get through the crowd, and she still had the clothes on, which wouldn't turn invisible, and she had to take them off, and she still couldn't get a handle over on her powers, and so she's presented butt naked to everybody, and like, y'all knew what y'all were doing. And finally, you have Victor Von Doom, aka Dr. Doom, who is played by Julian McMahon, who sadly passed away just a few days ago. And I'm telling you, I literally watched this movie Tuesday of last week, and then a few days later after that, news that he passed away. Rest in peace to this man right here. You will surely be missed, and your work will definitely not be forgotten. And I'm sending prayer and healing to you and your family. But as for the character he played, Doctor Doom, and look, I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead, but like I said about Ion Griffith and Jessica Alba, I think he is the best version of Doctor Doom within cinema just by default. But to his credit, I do like that he had fun with the role. He clearly knew what kind of movie he was making, and he gave 110%. He was clearly having fun with the role. The number two redeemable thing about this movie is the use of comic book lore. I thought they used it very sparingly, particularly to the powers, because, like I said, their powers are a reflection of their character traits. Reed tends to stretch himself too thin within his work, hence why he has stretchy powers. Sue Storm feels unseen, hence why she has the power of invisibility. Johnny Storm is a hothead, hence why he has fire powers, and Ben Grimm is the rock of the group, hence why he's just a big monstrosity. Even right down to the rivalry between Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom. That is very reminiscent of the comics and all the relationships between them. It's there. It's just the problem with the movie is just they try to make it just a little bit too edgy. And funny at times when it really didn't need to be funny. In fact, there are times where it's kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, where they try to strike the right balance between being funny and the drama. And I just feel like this movie just kind of went overboard with it at times, but and it's kind of debatable who did it. Oh, who did it the most, Fantastic Four or Guardians of the Galaxy? But I felt they used the comic book lore just right. Number four redeemable thing about this movie is the bridge scene. And it's basically the scene in the movie after everybody's gotten their powers and they showcase to the world their powers, and we get to see them get used to it and really learn how to work together as a team. And then it also leads to the scene where Ben Grimm, he gets dumped by his fiance. It's heartbreaking. And then Reed Richards, he tries to make the promise, hey, you will be Ben again. It's just, there's a lot happens within this particular scene. And then it just shifts basically the whole vibe of the movie. Which also leads into probably what is the worst part of the movie, which is basically them living together and Reed Richards trying to find a cure. It basically, the whole problem with this movie is it's basically just feels like the whole first act just stretched out, and then with the climax of the third act tapped on, and then it just kind of don't feel like as good as a Fantastic Four movie could be. You know what? Sometimes the simplicity of this movie is just what makes people vibe with it. At least that's what I vibed with it. The four redeemable thing about this movie is the climax of this movie, in which they all fight Victor Von Doom. He is had a full grip on his powers, and now he's fighting all four of them. And then the four of them, after all the fighting and bickering, they come together and they even use science. I like how they use science lessons to defeat the villain, in which Johnny Storm, he goes supernova around him. Sue Storm uses her force field to shield the fire. Ben Grimm, he opens up a fire hydrant, and then Reed stretches and aims the water at Dr. Doom, and now he's frozen once it's cool and hot. I just thought, for as simple as this movie is, I thought this climax worked. And then number five, like I said, the music by John Ottman, who also worked on the music for X2, X-Men United, and I thought he understood the assignment when he made the music for this movie. But those are my top five redeemable things about Fantastic Four 2005. And I'm going to give it a mid-shoulder shrug emoji. Like I said, I like this movie for nostalgic reasons, but I recognize why people don't like it and why this movie is flawed. But that's it for the day. Have you seen this movie? I mean, obviously you probably have, but if so, have you seen it recently? What do you think about this movie 20 years later? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. This is your boy Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor. Stay safe, wash your hands, peace.